Can everybody see that? All right. So the estimator is loading. We'll see if it works. If not, I have an example and I can run through some numbers on that. First, wanted to touch on a couple things. I just do this kind of every class just because it's a good reminder. There's a website, it's called Mortgage News Daily. It's basically I think something in the chat here. Yep, okay, cool. It's basically an unbiased third-party website. They do a survey of like 500 lenders all across the country. They daily will update the interest rates from that survey that they do, and it gives you kind of a rough idea of where the market stands. Now, the way that the survey is completed, some lenders are throwing out rates that have additional closing costs in exchange for that lower rate. So sometimes, depending on where the market is, these are right on. Maybe they're a little bit high, maybe they're a little bit low. But it just gives your buyers kind of a roundabout idea. So as you can see, most people looking at a 30-year fixed interest rate around 6.8%. I would assume that's with 20 to 25% down and perfect 780 credit. Yeah, and you can see the government loans are a little bit better. So this is a nice place to go. There's some news here if you want to get into the economics and stuff. Gives you a little trend tracker on where the sentiment is. As you can see, we've shot up again, came down, and now for the last like several months, we've just kind of been hanging out. So right around this like 6.5 to 7% range. News sounds like probably, and I hate to say this, I'm knocking on wood as I speak, but probably the first Fed cut on the federal funds rate, so the rate that sets everybody else's rates, there's a 95% chance that it gets cut for the first time in September. That would be the first cut in over 2 years. So that would be kind of the sign that rates are going to start coming down. They're going to come down really slowly, I'm sure, but any news is good news after being in a pretty high rate environment for the better part of the last couple of years. So any questions on rates or anything like that, let me know. But I'm going to jump over to my webpage. If anybody has any questions or looking for articles or something like that, this is the webpage that I send people to apply online or get a free rate quote. Basically, if someone just can plug in an estimate of what they're looking for and an estimate of what their credit score is, I can quickly just run some numbers on what their pricing would be. The resource center is nice. Breaks down calculators, articles, videos, glossary. So just kind of gives you an idea if you're looking for a stop. I like to tell people, if you're looking for something to post about on social media, you can hop over here to these articles. My marketing team is writing an article. I think it's almost every day they're putting something out. Very easy to kind of pick something off of here, piggyback off of it into a Facebook post, and they're pretty well written. So, all right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to talk about today, and that is the Cuyahoga County reappraisal. So the way it works is every 6 years, the county does a full reappraisal. That just happened in July and is rolling out here in, I should say that it happened in June and it's rolling out here in July and August. So basically what they've done is they've now updated everyone's purchase values. If you think 6 years back, this was pre-pandemic. This is before the huge jump in valuations and all the new sales and everything. And I'm going to use my own home because I live in University Heights as an example of what you might see with these new taxes, because that's what everyone cares about. The valuation just changes what their taxes could be. So if you live in Cuyahoga County, you might have gotten one of these. I've redacted a bunch of my own personal information on here, but it is a 2024 proposed value notice. Basically what that is letting homeowners know what the county has determined their new tax appraised value is on their home. Myself, my home previously had been valued at 156,200, 156,200. It just reappraised at 225. So pretty big jump. That's like a, you know, almost 50 or more than 50% jump, almost 50% jump. It's crazy. So my immediate thing was, oh my gosh, if my taxes jump up 50%, what's that going to do to my payment? And I'm sure that all of your buyers or anyone you're working with, they're probably thinking the same exact thing as these letters come in. So what I did was jumped into the Cuyahoga County tax estimator. So what it does, and I wish it would work, I'm going to try and refresh it one more time here. What it does is it says, okay, what's your current year? Here's your taxes based off of the current rate that taxes are being evaluated at. And then what is the new value for next year? And it does the same thing, applies a new calculation to it. So it looks like, of course, it's not working, but it looks like what the county has done is they've raised valuations, but they've lowered the percentage at which people are going to be taxed. It's called a millage, if you've ever heard of that. So even though my house went up in value by about 50% in their eyes, it doesn't mean that my taxes are going up 50%. The rate at which I'm being taxed is actually going down a little bit. So when I ran my own taxes, which my normal taxes are about $6,000 a year, it had only gone up about $800 annually, which is, roughly $75 a month. So I'm not jumping for joy, but it's at least better than the possibility of it going up $3,000 a month, like I originally thought. So what I've been telling people is you're definitely going to see a tax increase. We don't know how much it's going to be for. The estimator says on here about 10 different times that this is just an estimate and it's not the final numbers, and you don't know what your taxes are going to be until you get a bill. So basically, what I've been telling people is go to the estimator. It'll give you a good idea. Historically, the estimator's high, so maybe we get lucky and when the bill comes out, it's a little bit lower. But let's prepare for the end of the year when this tax bill comes out, what we might be looking at. And I'm going to use myself as an example. So pull up Notepad here. Change the screen share to the Notepad. But let's get into some numbers. And we're going to use me as an example. So 156,100, that's the previous value. This value, 225 is the new value. $6,000 annual taxes in 2024. And 6,800 annual taxes in 2025. So I think just doing some quick math here, 800, 6,000, the taxes only went up about 13% rather than 50%, which is good. So I know that coming up at the end of the year, and it's paid, taxes in most of Northeast Ohio counties are paid twice a year in arrears. So what's going to happen is I have an existing escrow account. Because I pay my mortgage payment each month, a portion of my mortgage payment is put aside into an escrow account, and that account is, they draw from that account to pay my tax bill, my homeowner's insurance, and when those bills go up, they have to adjust accordingly for future payments and for a shortage. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. And this is the type of stuff that I'm explaining to buyers because this is what really confuses them. Basically, let's say I have a bill coming up for $3,400 for taxes for January 2025 taxes, right? Half of my new tax bill, my annual taxes of 6,800. Well, currently in my escrow account, I only have $3,000 for taxes because the mortgage company isn't allowed to just collect whatever they want willy-nilly. They have to collect based off of the bills that exist currently. So what happens whenever a bill goes up, they can increase the payment for future bills, but they also need to make the payment on the bill that just came out. This doesn't happen everywhere. You know, we're kind of weird in the way that we treat taxes here in Northeast Ohio. So this is kind of a problem that's unique to us. If you had anyone that moved here from another state, this might be new to them. So what happens? My mortgage company has to pay $3,400 to the county to pay this tax bill, but they only have $30,000 in the account to work with. So now I have what's called a shortage. It's a $400 shortage. That shortage has to be paid back. So what happens is the mortgage company is going to collect extra each month until that's paid back, and they base it off of the bill. So what's going to happen is, let's say my payment is $1,300 right now. I'm just using round numbers. My monthly payment is going to go up 800 divided by 12, $67 a month. So current monthly payment, my new payment is 67 for new taxes, plus another 67 approximately for escrow shortage. So my total new monthly payment, there's not an underline on here. You get the idea. Is $1,434. And that's going to be that number until that shortage is paid off and then it'll go back. But what's going to happen is come January, this bill's going to get paid. There's going to be an escrow analysis, and your, you know, buyers who you worked with in the past, they're going to get this bill. They might freak out and call the mortgage service company. They might freak out and call their lender they worked with originally. They might freak out and call you just to see what's going on, because all of a sudden, out of nowhere, their payment, and if this, if they're not paying attention, I should say, out of nowhere, their payment's just going to jump up to 1434 in this scenario, or whatever, by however much their taxes go up. So for me, if I don't do anything, come January, my payment's going to be about $135 more than it is right now. This is an excellent topic to reach out to your clients that you've worked with anytime over the last 6 years. Now, the taxes have fluctuated in between the last appraisal and this appraisal. Every 3 years, they do a reevaluation and, they more or less double check their numbers. The last time that happened for me, I think my taxes went up like $50. This is the first time in 6 years it's going to go up dramatically. So it might be worth reaching out to your clients and saying, hey, just so you know, if you haven't gotten this letter, you're going to. Here's what you can do if you want to contest it, which I'll get into the process for doing that next. Or just expect at the end of the year, when your final taxes come out, there's going to be a recalculation of your escrow account and your monthly payment's going to go up. So let's start with the first thing, contesting this. What can someone do to contest this increase in value? So on the letter, it says that you have the right to contest it. You can file a, an argument with them. I would maybe consider hiring an attorney. There are attorneys out there that will do this for free unless you get a reduction. Basically, it's think of it like the personal injury lawyers where, hey, I don't get paid unless you get paid. So they don't ask for payment from you unless they are able to decrease the valuation in your property and thus decrease your tax liability. So, might be worth a stab there. Worst case scenario, you wind up paying an attorney more than what you actually end up saving in taxes. Or you can do it yourself. So if you wanted to do it yourself, you have to kind of, I think you could do it online or you have to call in maybe, and you're going to need to do an appraisal. So that's the first catch. You're going to have to purchase an appraisal on the property. I'd expect that to cost between $500 and $700. And the worst case scenario there is you get your property appraised and it's worth, just as much, if not more than what they're already appraising your home at, the county that is, at which point, you just stop calling them and stop worrying about it, because you don't want to give them the idea that it's worth more than what they're already hitting you with. What I have noticed is most people that purchased within the last 6 years, they're seeing their new valuation set to the purchase price that they purchased at, whenever they purchased. So like, within the last 6 years. And I think the reason that is the county is going to struggle to do 1.4 million valuations or whatever the number shakes out to the number of properties. So if something sold within the last 6 years and they have those documents and the mortgage already filed on the auditor's website, it's very easy for them to just be like, oh, well, 3 years ago, Chris bought his house in University Heights for 225, so we're going to make it 225 now. The other thing that I wanted to kind of advise is with the escrow shortage, let's say you want to take care of that up front. The escrow shortage in this scenario is $400. I can actually call the mortgage company in January and I can pay that off. I can just pay the $400 off. And what that'll do is that'll eliminate that other $67 a month from my monthly payment. So now my payment only went up $67. And that just cost me $400 basically. So you have to keep in mind too that you're going to get hit with another one of these at the end of, or in the middle of the year in July. So I might have to do that twice, pay $400 twice to eliminate this and keep my payment from jumping up, double hitting me for the taxes, more or less. Any questions there? Nancy, do you have any questions? I think it's a lot of numbers. I apologize.
No, I don't have any questions, but thank you for this information because it's we need it. Thank you.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't know. Maybe I've seen it hit the local news. So that was good. I mean, I've been kind of worried about this for the last like 6 months, just knowing that it's coming, because every time this happens, they did it in Summit County last year, they did it in Geauga County, I think a year or two ago. Every time this happens, I wind up getting so many calls from people because they come back to me because they did their loan with me. They come back to me and they're like, hey, Chris, you just bumped my payment up for no reason at all. I pull the tax bill. I explain this whole thing to them. Okay, it makes sense. My taxes went up. That's why my payment went up. And then I always advise them, hey, just pay the shortage off. I know it stinks, but blame the county, not us. You're basically just paying back the portion of taxes that you hadn't paid into up until this point. So,
I have
yeah,
a question, Chris.
yeah, for sure.
When should we get that notice in the mail from the Cuyahoga County.
Yeah, so they started going out just the other day. I believe they they give themselves July and August to get them out to everyone. I can't remember exactly how. There's a date for when you have to contest it by. Let me see if it's on the letter here. You should, if you haven't gotten it, you should be receiving it really soon. Somewhere on here. I'm not sure here. Sorry. It doesn't give a formal date, I don't think. Oh, August 30th. So you have until August 30th to submit documentation for your dispute. And then they have until November to respond. So if you haven't gotten it, you should be getting it. And now's the perfect time. I mean, if someone got it and they thought, whatever, just toss this in the filing cabinet, no big deal. It doesn't tell me I have to pay anything. Um, they technically only have about a month and a half to contest it if that's what they want to do. And I've been telling everybody, if you've got someone that has questions, even if, I'm not the lender that helped them originally, if you feel like it would help you kind of build a relationship with them, feel free to cue me in and I'm happy to speak to them and kind of explain what this whole process is. Tara asked about a video. I'm kind of working on some kind of script because I just rambled for about 25 minutes. And I don't think I can do that in a video. So I'm going to try and figure out a way to concisely put this together into like a 2-minute thing. And then we'll see if I can get maybe Brian when he comes back to put it out like via email, or maybe I'll post it on Facebook. I'm not sure, but yeah. Any other questions? I suppose we have this recording as well, so if if you need to jump back to it, this is maybe a good place to do so. But yeah, I appreciate it. Feel free to pass the word around to anybody that may be curious about this stuff. If they have any questions, let me know or tell them to reach out to me. And yeah, I appreciate it. Have a great day, guys.